Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of The Trevor Ohlsen Show, episode number 90, Wednesday, December 29th, 2021. I'm your host for the evening, the afternoon, the night, the day, Trevor Ohlsen. It's a pleasure. Good to be here. What's going on? What's up? What is going on? Did you have a good time? Christmas, the holidays. The holidays are coming to an end here. We've got New Year's Eve for all of us to go out, get shit-faced, and have sex with that one person we've always wanted to hook up with, but it just never worked out because they're in town. Christmas was nice. How was yours? Was it good? Did you have a good time? Or do you hate your family? Do you hate your family? I do. No. It was, we had a good time. I had a great time. We did a nice little Christmas Eve. It's like it's one of my favorite days of the year, where Christmas Eve we get together. We go to my aunt's and uncle's. We get together. We have a nice dinner. We shoot the shit. We kick it. The kids are running around playing. Everyone's having a good time. And it was really fun and exciting for me to see this year all the little babies kind of running around and just seeing truly the next generation of our family, growing. And, we used to be those little babies, whipping off our diapers and throwing shit at each other like monkeys. My niece did that yesterday. She took off her diaper and just shit. She didn't shit, but she'd shit in the diaper. And then she was getting changed, and she just decided to just whip it off. And there was indeed fecal matter in it. And so we can't have that. We don't want fecal matter amongst the room. Too much chaos. If there's just shit on the white carpet. And especially if it's a white carpet, man, you can't have, let alone human shit. There's something about human shit that, it's a bit more about, what's the word? Harsh than you see some deer shit, bear shit, other shit, dog shits. Dog shits can be pretty gross. But I'm telling you, something about the human shit. You don't want that on the carpets. That's just degrading for everybody. But we went to the aunt and uncle's, had a good time, had some great food. My cousin brought his virtual reality headset, and we just watched as a family a bunch of pornography. It was really nice. Doggy style. What else? Just 8 or 9 people all at once. Just a Christmas free for all. We did a number of things. My sisters and my mom and my dad all did this Jurassic World theme interactive video where you just kind of hang out. You just look around. You throw on your Oculus, look around. And you just things just happen, and you go along with it. And all of the reactions are cool. It's fun to see people's reactions to virtual reality the first time they do it. And my experience with it was really novel and exciting and cool. And then and so you kind of get those same experiences from everybody else as well. And so, but by far the funniest two, in my opinion, were my sister Erin and my mom. My mom was really funny. She was getting disoriented. She almost fell over. Looked like she was hammered drunk. But she wasn't. She was just disoriented from the virtual reality. And she slapped at a dinosaur. And she almost smashed the glass that was sitting right next to me. And she almost smashed her hand on the corner of a couch, a hard arm piece. So we had to sit her down in a chair and say, "Calm the fuck down." She was almost falling back. My dad was just incompetent at it. He couldn't handle it. He put it on, and he wouldn't hold the remotes because he had a beer, and so it's he couldn't go 5 minutes without putting the beer down. And he kept bumping the remotes in his lap because you're supposed to be holding them, and it just kept pausing over and over again. It was the most technologically embarrassing thing I've ever witnessed, Dad. Erin though, my sister Erin, was by far the funniest because she has, as she freaked out. It's like she has an irrational fear of sharks, and so she can't deal with them, and she also is kind of afraid of like large objects. Again, completely irrational. I hope I can share this. She shared this with me. Um, but so when she did the Jurassic World thing, you're getting dinosaurs in your face with those big shark teeth, and they're huge, and it's like they're right there. So she was literally screaming and curled up on the ground on her knees in the fetal position, hunched over like a prey animal, screaming, and then much like my niece, she shit herself as well, and no, she didn't. But it was great. We had a great time. It was really fun, and nobody shit themselves. It was great. I actually indulged a bit as well, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Stiff as a board, Trevor indulged a bit. Sober as an AA attendant, Trevor indulged a tad. Did sniff some heroin, snorted some coke off a hooker's ass. They come every Christmas. They're great. I will put up their company name in the description below so you can hire them out. They dress up, whatever you want, elves, sexy elves, naughty elves, and they bring the cocaine, so it's nice. Now I I puffed on a cigar and had some whiskey. I've been, for those of you who don't know, I haven't drank in like 20 months, and I still haven't been drunk at all in 20 months, but we were outside. I'm shooting the shit with Shane, with Eric, my cousin, and my sister's boyfriend, and we're just kicking it, and it's the holidays, it's the holidays. It's the time to enjoy. It's the time to be jovial, and there's a lot of pleasure that the holidays offer, if you allow yourself to have it. So, and we were just standing outside, cooling down because it was hot as fuck in the house. Just everyone cooking and sweating. One of the guys there, he's big fella, sitting to my left, and he's eating, and he's just got sweat pouring down his face like he's running a marathon. And then the roads were getting slippery, and he was like, "Oh, the roads are getting slippery," and then he just left. He left. It's like, dude, we have this once a year. You live 3 miles down the road, and the roads are getting a little slippery. It's fine. It's Christmas. Like, stick around. But he's a funny fella. Big fella. He's just funny. He's the family member who comes to all the gatherings and eats a preposterous amount of food. Like there was a bunch of beets left in a bowl, and enough for like 3 or 4 people, and he just took them all. He just took all the food, and I looked over, like I said, just fucking sweat dripping down. He's on an elliptical for like 30-35 minutes, sweatsuit on. And then he's like, "Oh, the roads are slippery," and then he leaves. It's like he dined and dashed. He did the classic dine and dash. But we probably all have one of those family members, right? But he's a good dude. And but anyway, where was I going with that? Shit. I was going somewhere with that. The holidays. Yeah, I had a good time. Damn it. What was I gonna say? Shit. All right, this always tends to happen, doesn't it? Oh yeah. Oh, I almost had it coming back. We'll just move on. It was maybe it'll come back to me. It was nice. It was a good time. We had a great time. The family, we all enjoyed ourselves, and I hope you had a good time with your family as well. And I hope you all got to, participate in some virtual reality porn. It was it's very it's nice as a family. You do it as a group. It's nice. So anyway, food though, fantastic. Nice job, to my aunt. Thank you. Cheers to my aunt here with a little chocolate coffee this morning, folks. Like I'm an animal. Chocolate coffee because we're out of normal coffee, and we have some mocha coffee from 1987 that I decided to throw in last night, and so I could have some type of caffeine to get me going in the morning. And it's all right. It's got a nice scent to it. Like chocolate shit. But no, great food. And what do we have? we had the classic, you know, turkey and do we have turkey? Yeah, turkey stuffing. It's like Thanksgiving pretty much again, Thanksgiving again. So, I had a point I was going to make and I was excited to make it. So I'm just still mulling it over in my head, but whatever. What else is going on these days? Oh yeah, I was talking about, sorry, I just screamed into the microphone. Being a bit jovial, a bit, indulging. And so hadn't drank in like 20 months, and in the last like couple weeks I've had kind of like a craving every here and there. I can see the sound wave where I yelled into the microphone, and I can just see that it's a little too loud. No, I had myself some whiskey. We were outside. Eric Shane, that's right. We were outside. Eric Shane. They've got cigars. They've got whiskey, and I was like, man, that looks really, really lovely. Really lovely. It did. It looks so good. And I'm not even a cigar smoker. I just really love whiskey. I really enjoy it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to have a little bit. So I got myself a little bit of whiskey when Eric went in and he was grabbing some more. I was like, you know what, dude? I was like, why don't you grab me some? Grab me some of that whiskey. And he did. He went and grabbed me a nice little glass, threw an ice cube in there, grabbed a cigar from Shane, and torched it up and just puffed on it and just... I'm like, how do you smoke these? I was like, you don't inhale, right? Shane's just like, I inhale. Doesn't care. Eric had the slimmer ones. I don't know what they're called. There's like just the slimmer cigars, and Shane had the big thick ones. And I tried them both. I ended up smoking the bigger thick one. I just like the aesthetic look of it, of holding a thick cigar with a glass of whiskey in the same hand, like you're multitasking. But they were kind of old. And they didn't have much flavor, and I think Eric's had a little bit more flavor to it. But it was just nice. Had a sip of whiskey. I didn't drink, and I literally had maybe half a dozen sips that I enjoyed thoroughly. When you don't drink, and then you have something that you enjoy, and you allow yourself to have it because you've been a good boy. You've been disciplined. You've been focused. You've been working hard. Running on the fucking treadmill every fucking day. No, I just enjoyed it. The holidays do offer up some pleasure if you can enjoy it, and especially if you're not drinking regularly, to have a little bit of whiskey, if you're drinking or whatever you're drinking, maybe if you have a little bit, man, it's nice. It's nice. So, but I didn't drink enough to even get. At one point I was talking to my uncle, and for like 2 minutes I was like, I feel a little bit buzzed up. Like I felt a little bit more loose. A little bit like a whore's vagina. No, I felt a little loose. And I just felt a little bit more relaxed. But I could not sleep that night. I got back home and could not sleep. And I think it was just because I had alcohol in my system, and probably more so I had nicotine in my system, which I literally never smoke anything with nicotine. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke cigars ever. But for whatever reason, it just it looked like a good time. So maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll just drink on the holidays, on special occasions. I'll just watch me start making up holidays. It's National Get Shit-Faced Day, guys. Let's drink. Just people drinking every day. Any reason to celebrate. Remember those days when you're like 21-ish and you were drinking all the time, like a psycho, like a true alcoholic, putting off the withdrawal symptoms by continuing to drink. Oh, just have a beer in the morning, Trev. That gets rid of the hangover. It's like, that seems like a good long-term strategy. That seems useful. Yeah. Oh God, the headache. I'll just have some whiskey. Get rid of that headache. No, it's just such a bad strat. It's not. I get it. Your body's going through withdrawal. You have a hangover, so you give your body a little more. Ease it off, push it back a little bit, and that's how you become an alcoholic. But it was a good time. Maybe I'll just drink on the holidays. Have a little bit of whiskey. I still find for me, I just don't think I'm gonna be drinking much. I think it's gonna be like what I just did. Christmas comes along, Kwanzaa, Easter, all these religious, all these religious days, religious telling to be like sober and clear-headed, clear-minded. It's Christmas. Let's get fucked up. How many people do that? Yeah, and speaking of that, yeah, New Year's is gonna be coming up, man. New Year's is coming up. I ran into this girl I know, this woman I know, who I had a crush on in high school. I ran into her yesterday. She was a couple years older than me. And when I was a freshman, we made out. It was a big deal. She was a junior. It was very special. But I ran into her yesterday, and it was good to see her. She's cool. And she's like, "Oh, you're going out on New Year's?" I'm like, in my head, I'm like, are you? That's how you reel them in. Gentlemen, if you're having problems dating, if you're having problems with the ladies, if they go, "Oh, you go, it's so good to see you. You going out New Year's?" You just go, "Are you? Are you going out?" I've been listening to, I've been watching rather, a couple movies, a couple scary movies as of lately. I watched more suspenseful. The Fourth Kind last night for the first time, hadn't seen it. And then the couple days before that, I watched the Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, the new one. And the noises that get made, it's funny how like these sort of visceral, guttural noises that can come out of people's face, how it can freak you out. Like, for example, spoiler alert. No, if you haven't seen The Conjuring, it's good. It was a good movie. Like little David is possessed. They think he's possessed by a demon, by devils, and plural. And there's a real audio recording supposedly of him, which they play at the end of the movie, and you can find it on YouTube. Of him supposedly, in his possessed state, and he's like, "You're dead, Mom." Like he sounds, don't get me wrong, he sounds creepy. And there's something about when kids do it, because they've got that higher voice, they've got that cute, innocent voice, that when kids try to be creepy, it sounds really creepy. And so, I asked my niece yesterday, I was like, "Reagan, make the creepiest laugh, make the creepiest sounds you can make." And she made some scary shit. I was like, "Oh yeah, like this David fuck could have been just, had multiple personality disorder, and he's getting strapped down onto a table, being held down, and he's going, like, I'm looking for some sort of logical explanation." And I did watch I watched a 30-minute interview with the real investigators. One of them one's a clairvoyant, and the other's a demonologist. These are their professions. So if you need a gig, I'm sure the demonology field is probably wide open. There's probably like 12 people out there rocking the demonologist, the professional name of a demonologist. Yeah. So if you want that, I thought it was just really funny because on the interview it shows his name, and then beneath it it's like demonologist, like they're being serious. I don't know. There's just something about that where they're talking about things that aren't necessarily grounded in reality, or at least not in this reality. Because I do think that we have limited senses. We can only take in certain types of input, so to speak, with our equipment, if you will, the body's equipment. They think that certain dogs out there can see electromagnetic fields, and we know that other animals can hear things that we can't hear, and we're limited. Our ability to perceive reality is limited, and so it's obvious to me that there's definitely it's the case that there's things that we're not seeing, that we're not noticing. But just to be like demonologist just seems like a bit of a leap to me. That's all. But it was a good movie, and it was done well. It's creepy, and The Fourth Kind yesterday was also very creepy. Hadn't watched it. The whole thing's fake, and I do have to say I don't dig the fact that they sell that movie as fact when it's fiction. They say this is real. It's like they're playing real footage along with fake footage, along with the movie footage, and they're like putting them side by side. And they really do a fantastic job of convincing the audience that it is real. They do a good job with that. And I think when that movie was made, they could get away with that shit, but I don't think you can get away with that shit anymore. I think people are too, first off, we have the internet. There's too much information available. And I just don't think people are dumb. Like, people are dumb. Don't get me wrong. Bunch of retards. No, you can't say that word anymore. Don't say that. Retard. No, it's just, people are dumb. But people aren't dumb. I'm dumb, but I'm not dumb. Like, we have it all. It's a good balance. Life's about balance, folks. What's Trevor's podcast about? It's a good one. Well, today he said you're dumb and not dumb. It's a good, gotta write that quote down. You're dumb and not dumb. Trevor Ohlsen. No, but people, you can't get away with that shit anymore. You can't get away with it. I don't think. I think people are too inquisitive. People are getting smarter. Well, I don't know. Are people getting smarter? We have the ability to be smarter because more information is available, but, who's seeking out that information? But that's the question. But scary movies. Scary, creepy movies. I definitely, at one point, my heart was going. During the fourth kind, but there's some, every time something kind of supernatural started to happen in the fourth kind, the real footage would go out. Some dude, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, some dude starts, like levitating in a bed during a therapy session, and he's screaming in ancient this ancient Sumerian language. I think it's Sumerian, but I think it's, if I'm remembering correctly, it was ancient Sumer. And then, but the footage goes out, and they kind of implicitly make the argument that, well, it's the aliens' technology. If you don't know what the movie's about, it's about aliens, alien abductions in this town called Nome, Alaska. I think it was Nome, Nome. And it just, they implicitly make it seem like, well, when these supernatural events are occurring, say like an alien is like coming forth through you, that, that experience, it alters the technology. It alters our recording equipment. So anytime something extraordinary begins to happen, the footage goes out or becomes really, really distorted. And then you just look it up. Then we started looking it up. And the main woman, who's, it's this, they call her the real person, this is real footage. She's an actress, and at the end she's like, oh, she's been bedridden for the rest of her life and under constant medical supervision. You look her up, she's fine. She looks great. She's walking the red carpet with heels. Got a cigar and whiskey in her left hand. She's fine. So the whole thing's fake. And I think that probably turned a lot of people off when they're like, oh, fuck you guys for trying to trick us, because I don't think you can get away with being a phony anymore. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think you can get away with being unauthentic. I think if you try to be something you're not, it's not going to work out. And I think great podcasts and great entertainers who are very, very popular right now, I'll just use Joe Rogan as the example because everybody knows him. He's authentically himself, and his podcast truly ruined other shows for me. Like for example, like these crime shows where with commercials in between, and they're leaping to conclusions, and there's no evidence. Like, he kind of ruined them for me because he doesn't budge. He doesn't move. He asks questions. He's skeptical, and there's no edits. There's no commercials and everything, But I'm just rambling. But that's the point of this show. We ramble here. So, a couple scary shows that I watched. If you want to check them out: The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and The Fourth Kind. And again, also a little bit misleading. Spoiler alert: with the Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. They say in the movie that it was the first court case. If I'm understanding this correctly, they say that it was the first court case where they used the argument, of demonic possession and the devil made me do it. So sort of an abdication of responsibility because he was possessed. But then you find out, you look it up, you do the research, that they weren't allowed to use that defense. They weren't allowed to use the devil made me do a defense because the judge wouldn't allow basically the evidence that they had, because it was evidence basically not of this world, not of this realm. It's superstitious. It's grounded in maybe perhaps a different reality. But I'm coming at like I don't know what's going on out there. Like I said, we've got limited senses. But if you look up and watch, which I haven't seen the movie, but the Exorcism of Emily Rose, right? That one. You look that one up and you find out the real facts. It does not take an investigative journalist to figure out that this poor woman, I don't know her real name off the top of my head. She clearly was mentally ill. They think she was epileptic. Maybe she had schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder, some sort of mental illness. They had her on all sorts of medication. Then they yanked her off it, basically on the supervision of priests. Nothing against priests, but they're not doctors. Like the dude walked in, he's like, she doesn't look like an epileptic. It's like, oh, thank you, doctor, thank you for that wonderful observation. You don't look like an epileptic. You don't got that epileptic fucking face, so you must not be epileptic. So they took her out, yanked her off all this medication, and then they just decided that whatever illness she was experiencing. By the way, this is if I'm remembering correctly, in the 70s, 1975, something like that. Not long ago, folks. They start doing. They assume that it's demonic possession, and they do, I think, 65 exorcisms on her over the next 2 years. And then there's, sometimes twice a week, up to 4 hours a session. It sounds like you're going to the gym. 4-hour session today, really broke in, really got the demons out of me. But this poor woman, she died of dehydration and malnutrition. She was bruised all over. She was abused physically by, whether it was the priests and her parents, but the priests served jail time and the parents didn't for some reason. But it's clear when you just try and look at it, when you look at it objectively, that this woman was mentally ill, and granted, we have a better understanding of mental illness now than they did in 1975. But this woman was clearly mentally ill, and they unfortunately, and these people this family was deeply involved in Catholicism as well. So they had those religious underpinnings. And this is not a shot at religion. I'm just saying that perhaps if somebody in your family is ill, you shouldn't leap to the conclusion that they're being possessed by a demon. Perhaps. But yeah, this poor woman. Anyway, she ends up dying of malnutrition and dehydration, and she is bruised all over her face, all over her arms, and they just beat her and killed her under their care, under the parents' care. And the movie comes out and it's like, oh, she was possessed by the devil, possessed by demons, and it's a fantastical tale that's captivating and enticing for people to be like, because it's the unknown. It's like, maybe. So, but it's like you hear what actually happened. It's like, oh God, that poor woman. And you hear her screaming in the, again, real audio recordings. And it's like, it's scary sounding, but I mean, you hear anybody scream, like terrified screams. It's supposed to freak you out. It's like, of course you're not going to feel good when you hear somebody screaming a horrible scream if they're perhaps in pain or if they're terrified. It's going to freak you out too. That's just human nature. If it didn't freak you out, you'd be a psycho. You'd be like one of those priests probably beating her. But yeah, she was just an unfortunate soul who ended up in a kind of a crazy family with crazy people, and they tried this crazy thing on her. 65 exorcisms. Wild shit. All right, friends, just like that, we're at the end of the show. These shows always fly by, don't they? If you enjoyed the show and you'd like to support what I do here in my podcast studio / bedroom / recording studio / lovemaking area, you can go to patreon.com, patreon.com / Trevor Ohlsen. Just type my name in, Trevor Ohlsen, TREVOROHLSEN, Trevor Ohlsen on patreon.com. and sign up there and support the show, where you get a bonus podcast just like this every Saturday, a Patreon exclusive bonus podcast. Support the show. You can get autographs, you can get t-shirts, you can get CDs, you can get all sorts of shit. Skype with me, and all the goodies if you enjoyed the show. So thanks so much, as always. Remember, every Wednesday, every Saturday on Patreon, every Wednesday on YouTube, and everywhere else for free. Patreon every Saturday. So thank you guys so much. Keep doing your thing. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Don't get too fucked up on New Year's. And we'll see you, if not on Saturday, on Wednesday.